Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you might be on this planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I want to welcome everybody here. We're late tonight. We're starting 2 hours late. I'm sorry about that. We just had a lot of things going on. We're going to start off this night with the United States National Anthem. Would everybody please rise? Thank you for that, Marine or the Army Corps band that we had playing the national anthem. We really appreciate it. We want to thank all of our soldiers, whether they be in the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, U.S. Coast Guard, wherever they might be deployed. Thank you for your service, and may God bless you. And our allies also, may God bless you all, that you will return home safely to your families after your after your tours of duty end. God bless you all, and thank you all for your service. Folks, we have a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, as we normally do. Folks, we're going to be talking about earthquakes. We're going to talk about some political strife going on. We're going to talk about some volcanoes. So please batten down the hatches. Let's go full steam ahead and get into what we're talking about tonight. First off, a high-rise fire is presently going over in the United Arab Emirates. Folks, this is a bad fire. We have talked about fires in the past. These high-rise fires are very dangerous. If anybody is in these high rises, it becomes literally an amount of time before these people could be killed. I have watched many fires. I have helped in putting out many fires. I have watched movies of high rises going up. I participated in a film with a high-rise fire going up, and I was a firefighter that was posed to put that fire out. It was all on film, but it's just as dangerous. There was a film that was done, a movie, that was a high-rise pictured in San Francisco, California, a long, long time ago. And that high-rise fire, or a high-rise apartment complex, condominium complex, started on fire, and it burnt to the ground. Okay? It burnt to the ground because the contractors did not do their job correctly. That's what I fear has happened here. As you can see, the fire literally burning from the ground up. Okay? You see a man's head pictured there. There's a lot of people with him. This picture was taken from the ground looking straight at the fire, looking straight up at this high rise. These high rises all over the United Arab Emirates are very dangerous because they have tried to put so many people into these condominiums and apartments. Very dense population. And this is where the fires start. And they can kill a massive amount of people in a very short time. I'm not even looking forward to seeing what happens with this fire within the next few hours. But I wanted to bring this to your attention as well. This is bad. This is not good at all. The second thing I wanted to follow up on was what we were talking about last night with Prigozhin, who was a general with the Wagner group, which was a group of mercenaries, a large, very large group of mercenaries in Russia. And they did not like what was going on to the south of them, and they were fighting there. They didn't like what was going on. And so General Prigozhin pulled his troops and made a march on Moscow. They covered half of Moscow in less than one day. They were, or not half of Moscow, half of Russia in one day. They were within 120 miles of Russia, or Moscow, Russia, when they stopped. A negotiation was had between the president of Belarus, Lukashenko, and he negotiated with the strong boss of the Wagner group, Poroshenko. They stopped the march into Moscow. Poroshenko turned around and went south. Now, supposedly, no one knows his location, but he was given the opportunity by Putin and Lukashenko to move to Belarus. Lukashenko is the president of Belarus. He's also the number 2 man to Putin. Putin turned his nuclear explosive weapons over to Belarus, a large majority of them anyway. And he sent now Prigozhin over there. And also those troops that wanted to remain loyal to Prigozhin, they were also given free ride to go to Belarus as well. And they were building, literally, as we were speaking last night, they were building residence for these troops in Belarus. Over 8,000 bed facility in Belarus. We have a feeling that has happened. Those troops went there. The other thing Putin said those troops could do is turn themselves over to the Russian military and sign contracts with the Russian military. It was up to each individual soldier with the Wagner group. But what has happened now? That's what we want to explore with you. Lithuania, which is a NATO nation, is fearing that the Wagner group boss Prigozhin will be exiled to Belarus. And so Lithuania has asked Germany to station 4,000 troops in Lithuania. And Germany is planning on doing just that, stationing 4,000 troops in Lithuania. Vilnius, who is the president of Lithuania, has reportedly called on Berlin to deploy permanent combat troops to the country, which borders the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, literally on the border with Germany. So Germany is doing that. Now the citizens of Germany are not happy with that, and happy with what is going on in Russia and now in Belarus, because now those same troops, the Wagner group and many other troops that are now stationed at the Lithuanian border in Russia, had planned on moving in. They planned on moving in. And now there's a big brouhaha. And NATO is right smack dab in the middle of it. So we don't know what's going on. I don't know. Nothing more has come out about it sufficient to say what Putin's plans are, what Belarus President Lukashenko's plans are, or what Poroshenko is going to do. Not Poroshenko, I'm sorry. What's his name? Prigozhin, I'm sorry. What Prigozhin is doing in Belarus, or what his mission is now to possibly go into Lithuania. We don't know. That still remains to be seen. But this is a fluid, uncomfortable situation. And now Germany is planning on stationing 4,000 permanent troops in Lithuania to protect that border and the border of Germany. And a lot of citizens in Germany are not liking that situation either. Now there's something else that we want to talk about besides that. I'm now going over to my friend Glenn Beck. I want him to tell you what is going on in El Paso. This is a fluid situation in El Paso. It's not good. And it's actually going on all over the United States, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. So listen to Mr. Glenn Beck.
Or people from South America. Our enemies are also sending people over the border. It's wide open. I want to show you El Paso. This is stunning. Here's what's happening as they just try to get something to eat. Okay. Wow. I mean, they're telling us that Chicago, they've received, what is it, like 1,000 immigrants or illegals, and Chicago's like, this is an outrage. We're going to collapse. How about El Paso? El Paso doesn't have all the graft and everything else, or even the tax base to be able to handle this. It's not all Mexicans or people from South America. Our enemies are also sending people over the border. It's wide open. I want to show you El Paso. This is stunning.
Let me show it to you again.
Here's what's happening as they just try to get something to eat. Okay. Wow. I mean, they're telling us that Chicago, they've received, what is it, like 1,000 immigrants?
Chicago received about 1,000 immigrants. He's right, but it's probably a lot more than that. Most cities have received a lot more immigrants than 1,000 people. This is getting to be a very bad situation. El Paso is about to burst. El Paso cannot handle the number of people that are in that small city. And now it's about 2 or 3 times the city it once was. Law enforcement can't handle it either. Law enforcement can't handle it at all. They were not prepared to have this group of immigrants that has come over. Millions, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions of illegals, unlawful, undocumented people are now in the United States and have come through El Paso and Arizona. That is the big deal. It's huge. Let's talk about this for a minute. And this has happened during the past 3 years under Biden. Immigrants coming into cities and states near you, near me. And I've already seen them here in Morganton, North Carolina. Now, the states that have been taking these people in: Nevada, California, Idaho, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Delaware, the District of Columbia and Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Washington State, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont. 44 countries. 44 countries have sent people from those countries to enter the Yuma, Arizona border gap. The Yuma, Arizona border gap. And I'm very, very familiar with that because I was sent there to help control some of the people back in the 90s. People that have invaded the United States from 44 nations. Ecuador, Colombia, Georgia. That's a former Russian Republic of Georgia. Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Nepal, Brazil, Cameroon, Mauritania, Mexico, Uzbekistan, Egypt, Syria, Russia. Yes, Russia, ladies and gentlemen. Venezuela, El Salvador, India, Burkina Faso, the Middle East, Senegal, Paraguay, Armenia, Congo, that's Africa, Mali, Guyana, Lebanon, Matano, Ghana, Azerbaijan, Moldova, Turkey, New Zealand, Vanuatu, Jamaica, Sri Lanka, Spain, Africa, and Haiti. It's incredible, guys. 44 countries have dumped people into the United States since Mr. Biden opened up the border and refuses to close it. Refusing to close it. I hate to even say it, his Secretary over Homeland Security denies having anything to do with this. He denies there are border problems. He denies responsibility for it. And yet he is in charge of it. Because Biden refuses to close the border. And our country is being overrun with people, including people who are enemies to the Republic of the United States. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Folks, we all have to protect ourselves and protect our neighbors, our families. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. My friend Laura Marie is in the chat. She says it says that there are only 2 people watching this program. Let me refresh this and see what it says on my end. It says 98 people watching it here. So I hope that's true. But folks, what are we going to do? We cannot allow this to continue. During the weekend, word had come out that Biden and his son Hunter had been summoned to the Camp David area with attorneys and the United States Attorney General to decide how they were going to handle the pressure of the ensuing legalese that's going on with Biden and Hunter Biden and the entire Biden administration. The Biden administration is literally falling apart at the seams. Not just because of what Biden and his son Hunter did, but what Biden has done to this country, allowing these millions of people. It's not just hundreds of thousands, it's millions of people that have been let into the United States in the hopes that the Democrat Communist Party in the United States would be able to get these people to vote in the Democrat Party from now on. One, making them the strongest political party in the United States and keeping them in power for infinity. Is this what we want for our country? To be overrun by people that know nothing about our country? That have nothing good to say about our country? Or being able to have these same people that have come into this country to find out that we're being overrun by enemy troops. China is among those people that have been allowed to come into the United States. I have seen identification cards, government identification cards and driver's licenses from people from outside the United States dumped at the border. Not just people from Mexico or Central America. People from South America and all over the world. Most of the countries mentioned here that I told you about were among the IDs that I've seen. It's easy to come up with this information. It's all over the internet and it's all over YouTube. You can see it for yourself. I have friends that are in law enforcement positions at the border with Border Patrol and Border Protection. And they've also told me the same thing. I have friends as sheriffs and sheriff's deputies and police officers also at the border who told me the same thing. And yes, they take those identification cards and they process them so that hopefully we will be able to match faces with those identification cards as professionals and authorities deal with these people. They may have dumped their identification cards, but when they come into the United States and apply for visas or apply for asylum, we take their pictures. Those other people that have overrun the border and have just come in under what they call can't catch you. Our border protection and border patrol and law enforcement at the borders from California all the way through to Texas can't catch hundreds of thousands of people that are still rushing the border. Getaways, or what they call gotaways. We've got to do something about it. Every one of our lives and our families' lives are in danger from these same people. We've seen it happen. I personally have arrested people, not from this particular instance, but in other instances before this happened, where I arrested people that were felons in their countries. It's sad that they got into our country and continued to commit crimes. But that's what's going on. Now, Don Patoka is one of our mods and one of my dear friends said something earlier about what we were talking about with Germany and Belarus and Russia. Some of those things are secret. I understand that. But some of that is starting to leak out, or has already leaked out, just like we're seeing here with the people that have overrun our borders. things are leaking out. Presidents and past presidents have caused this. It's now up to us to try to do something about it. Because the president in charge right now is not smart enough or even capable of handling the job. He can't. He's suffering from every kind of disease of old age that exists. He's not all there. He can't hardly say a word without getting mixed up. I saw an interview with Joe Biden from Sunday. He was with his own cabinet people, and he was going to tell them something, and he got lost in a statement. Then he admitted what is going on now. It's on record. It's all over the internet. He admitted to wrongdoing. He and about his son. He admitted it. And the media got hold of it. And those sound bites are all over. What are we going to do about it? It's up to us to get with our congressmen and senators and tell them, impeach Joe Biden. Take him out of office and charge him with treason. Stop the FBI. Stop them cold and start all over. Our FBI is worthless. Yes, there are probably a lot of good people with the FBI, but the leadership has got to go, and some of the other agents have got to go. They've committed crimes, and they know they have. New leadership has got to be put in there, and those bad apples taken out. And it has to be ultimately 100% harsh reality. And then to gut the FBI as it stands today, and even gut the Homeland Security. Now folks, I used to be a part of Homeland Security. And I had a lot of wonderful men and women that I worked with. But that umbrella called Homeland Security is the most worthless agency in the world. Yes, honestly, Homeland Security sucks. They cannot possibly do the job. Let's take, for instance, this. There are several levels that constitute our ability and threaten our freedom. Several levels, every one of them separate. And the thing is, most people don't even understand those levels of security that affects our freedom. They don't know how to operate under any one of those levels. Now, there's a comedian named Ron White. In the several groups that I belong to, I've mentioned his name. But he made a point in one of his joke presentations that Homeland Security was worthless, and that he could come up with two levels of security. First one, go buy a helmet. Go buy a helmet. The highest level of security, put on the helmet, Mom. Oh yeah, you can eliminate those other levels because they are worthless. 90% of the population does not understand what those levels are, and I'm not even going to go into it. It's stupid. First one could be just like Ron White put it out. Buy a helmet. Number two, when things get bad, put on the helmet. That's it. That's it. Linda Covington says they are all traitors in her opinion. I agree with you, Linda. And you're not the only one that thinks that. Richard Smith says New Babylon's rising and will fall like the first one did. You're right. But it's already there. Heart Sadist says, is the alternative from Biden any better? She's terrified of Kamala Harris. I am terrified of Kamala Harris. What did Kamala Harris do before she was the Vice President of the United States? Literally nothing. She was put into the Attorney General's position in California, and she got there by doing things that even she can't be proud of. True story. I've read the documents. After that, she ran for Senate and won. Only because, one, she was a woman, and two, she was a Democrat. That's how she got into the Senate in California. Because the majority of California is Democrat communist. There's a reason they call it California. That's how she got into the Senate of the United States. And from there, the Biden administration, I shouldn't even say administration, because it wasn't even Biden that did it. Biden's cronies put together a short list of people that he could have as a vice president. And the number one person for vice president was Kamala Harris. Number one, because she's a woman. Number two is because she claimed to be black. Number three, because people claimed to be a United States senator, you must have something going on up here. That's how she became the vice president of the United States. She even had an illicit relationship with Willie Brown in California. Fact. There's all sorts of documents that prove that fact. Did she sleep her way to the top? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, she is worse than Joe Biden. The whole administration must be taken down. The entire Democrat Biden administration needs to be taken apart completely. Fired, most arrested, and put behind bars, and that includes the former president, Mr. Obama, and many others that are affiliated with him. Because what did Mr. Obama say that he was going to do when he was brought in almost 20 years ago? What did he say he was going to do? He was going to reformat America. He was going to reformat America. America did not need to be reformatted. That's a bunch of crap. I'm telling you guys, our country is in the worst shape that I've ever seen it. And every day that we go on, it gets worse and gets worse and gets worse. And what I heard happened over at Camp David this past weekend, yeah, it's secret, but what I've heard is not going to be good when it finally hits the fan. It's not going to be good at all. So folks, I'd recommend you get prepared, and you get prepared now. If you have any possibility right now to get everything going so you and your family are protected and you and your family are prepared, even with a preparedness plan, that's the biggest one right there. That's a beginning. Write your emergency preparedness plan that we've been talking about for months now and years. I've been in this over 4 years now, guys, and that's the number one thing I've been talking about, is writing an emergency preparedness plan. And on the other channel that I had done programs where I talked about every kind of preparedness that you can do and what you can do to prepare. The number one has always been write an emergency preparedness plan. And that's still the number one thing. And I've even got one program here on this channel talking about it. All you have to do is go back through my programs where it says emergency preparedness planning. That's it. Giving you suggestions and ideas how to write your preparedness plan, and you need to do it. Because our government is falling apart. Our nation's being invaded. Like I said last night, China has 2 more balloons over the United States of America, and there's more coming. Russia and China have sent people to invade our borders, and they're already on our soil. They're already in Canada. Trudeau has made sure of that. Canadians as well as Americans are in deep yogurt. Very deep up to our necks in yogurt. It's not going to be funny. Everything that you and I have ever worked for is about to be lost. And it's up to all of us to get this word out. To get this word out in a big way. To either slow it down or stop it. And we can still do that. And I have talked about how to do that on every one of my programs that I've ever put out, including Sunday school. I've talked about it. I've given all of you every suggestion I possibly can how to get through what's going on. And it's not just man-made things as well. It's other things that can happen, and we have talked about that as well. Folks, we have had volcanoes that have been erupting literally all day long. Volcanoes. Popocatépetl has been erupting over there southeast of Mexico City. Big time eruption, guys. Big time eruption. I kid you not. Just a second, I'm looking for something. No, that's not it. Give me a second, I'm just going through some information, pull it for you. Because you guys need to be aware of this. It's affecting all of you. It's affecting everybody. Folks, if you don't know what's going on around you, we're in a deep part of trouble. Kid you not. Let's start off with the volcanoes that have erupted today. Like I said, Popocatépetl has erupted. Popo, as we have deemed calling it, that was a nickname that they gave it a lot of years ago. Popo. Popocatépetl erupted up to 22,000 feet today. 22,000 feet. Fuego in Guatemala erupted up to 15,000 feet, 4,600 meters high. Popo was 6,700 meters high. Then there's Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia, 19,000 foot eruption, 5,800 meters high. Sabancaya in Peru, 25,000 foot eruption at Sabancaya, 7,600 meters high. Isn't that something? Then there's one other volcano just north of there in southern Peru. This volcano was erupted about once a year, sometimes up to every other year. It's called Ubinas, U-B-I-N-A-S, Ubinas Volcano. Ubinas Volcano has been erupting. 8 hours ago, it erupted big time. It literally erupted big time. Let me show you. Look at that. This was a picture of Ubinas Volcano in southern Peru. Big time eruption. Ubina is an active stratovolcano in Moquegua region of southern Peru, approximately 60 kilometers or 37 miles east of the city of Arequipa, Peru. Ubinas rises 5,672 meters high. It's 18,609 feet above sea level. It has been erupting. It has produced frequent eruptions since 1550, characterized by ash plumes that we see here, a ballistic ejecta including great big huge lava bombs and blocks, great big huge lava rocks being thrown out of the crater, and some pyroclastic flows and lahars coming down the side of the mountain. That's Ubinas Volcano. A big deal, huh? It's a very big deal. Now, it's not just these volcanoes down in Mexico and South America. Over in Indonesia, Mount Ibu, that's been erupting for about a month now, erupted today up to 7,000 feet high, flight level 070. Karangetang on Sangihai Island in Indonesia. Explosive activity continues on that volcano. It erupted up to 6,000 feet high, 1,800 meters high. Mayon volcano over in the Philippines is still erupting. It's still erupting. The last eruption happened today, earlier this morning. And because of cloud cover, they do not have an actual height that Mayon erupted to today. but they believe it was above 20,000 feet high. Mayon volcano. South of Japan. Let me bring up the USGS map, because I want you to see this. I want you to know where this volcano is. And yes, you see a new earthquake that happened today over there near Kamchatka Peninsula. Okay, just south of Japan here. Let me bring it up here so you can see what we're talking about. Just south of Japan, there are two volcanoes that we want to talk about here. They're down in what we call the Ryukyu Islands, south of Japan. Suwanisejima, which is the closest island to the mainland of Japan, erupted today. Flight level 080, 8,000 feet high. Suwanisejima volcano. Then there's another one. And it's been erupting for a while, off and on. It's Kuchinero. I knew I was going to mess this up. Kuchinero Abu Jima, and I know I'm butchering that language. Kuchinerabu Jima in the Ryukyu Islands. It is continuing to erupt as we speak. It's a major stratovolcano down there in the Ryukyu Islands. Okay? That volcano has had over 100 earthquakes in the past 10 days. And that's between two craters there in the Ryukyu Islands. Kuchinero Abu Jima, Japan. A great big huge stratovolcano. Now, I want to go down there and address another volcano north of Japan. USGS has no earthquakes in Japan at all. They're full of crap. One earthquake that I'm going to show you right now is over in Russia in the Sea of Japan there. This is a 5.8 magnitude earthquake. It's a very strong earthquake. Very large, very strong earthquake. It's just barely offshore from Russia, and we will never find out any real good information about it. Okay? Because they don't like to talk about it. But this was the last earthquake that we had over there just south of Kamchatka Peninsula over in Japan, just west of Japan. There's another volcano right here in the Kuril Islands between Kamchatka Peninsula and Hokkaido, Japan. It's called Ebiko volcano. It had an eruption up to 10,000 feet high. Flight level 1000. I should say 100. Flight level 100. 10,000 feet high. Okay? Then over in Kamchatka Peninsula. Let's go over here and show you this. Okay? Kliuchevskoye volcano. Kliuchevskoye volcano here. Kliuchevskoye has been erupting for as long as I can remember. Kliuchevskoye erupted today. A 17,000 foot eruption at Kliuchevskoye. Now there's one other volcano north of there. one other volcano north of there. I believe this is the one here. This is Chevelus Volcano. Chevelus Volcano. This volcano also erupted up to 12,000 feet today. 3,700 meters high. Flight level 120. Those are the volcanoes that have erupted. We're keeping an eye on every one of these volcanoes. We believe there's other volcanoes that have also erupted that they are not telling us about, because they're minor volcanoes with minor eruptions. In Africa, for example. Okay? In Africa. Now, the things that we're finding out are bizarre. It's hard to talk about some of these. Okay? One of the things that I want to bring out today is earthquakes and volcanoes in California. So I want to talk about now a volcano that has had some goings on that a lot of people have not even thought about, not in a while. Geology Hub put out a video that I want to play for you. And I've talked about Geology Hub in the past, and I've shown you videos. This video has to do with Long Valley Volcano. Long Valley Volcano is just east of Mammoth Mountain. The caldera of Long Valley Volcano has been thought to also include Mammoth Mountain. But this volcano video here is just about Long Valley.
On the very northern end of Owens Valley in California, along a section of river known as Hot Creek, steam, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and other gases emerge from small holes in the ground. At one site, these vents known as fumaroles are highly clustered, with a dozen vents occurring next to each other. Additionally, unusually warm and in some cases near boiling point water emerges at hot springs, in rare cases even causing small geysers to form. Although the rest of the seemingly flat basin between two mountain ranges may not seem all that suspicious, it represents the rim of a still potentially active supervolcano known as the Long Valley Caldera. Underneath the aforementioned geothermal site, known as the Hot Creek Geologic Site, you can find magma at fairly shallow depths of only 3 miles or 5 kilometers. This molten rock provides the heat source and volcanic gas which is emitted at all of these regional geothermal features. Yet, this group of features, which is part of the Long Valley supervolcano, is once again in the news, as sometime in early June of 2023, frequent visitors to the site reported something unusual. At a white and altered patch of ground which was beforehand barren of any water, there was now a 5-foot wide and 20-foot long hole in the ground which was several feet deep. This depression was filled with unusually colored non-blue water which was clearly heated to a high degree, resulting in the water vigorously steaming. What had just occurred was the formation of a brand new hot spring. This feature would go on to produce small geysers of water on occasion, but this was only temporary. Once the presumably acidic heated water being supplied into the so far unnamed hot spring carved away a wider pathway to travel into, the geysering activities ceased. So, does the formation of this hot spring indicate anything unusual at the wider volcano? The quick answer is no, it does not. The Long Valley supervolcano currently contains at least 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma at depth, which is around 27% melt, aka active liquid by volume. This melt fraction is considered lower than the 35 to 50% melt a volcano generally needs to be theoretically capable of producing a volcanic eruption in the first place. Yet, it ranks highest among the 3 potentially active supervolcanoes in the United States, ahead of the Valdese caldera with 17 to 22% melt, and Yellowstone with 5 to 15% melt. Despite all of this magma, for now it is quite likely to remain fairly stationary, meaning the development of a new geothermal feature does not have any larger meaning. As, at fairly large geothermal sites, new vents regularly disappear and appear, while others change in intensity, size, or even sometimes move in position slightly. This is because the heated water regularly carries with it dissolved minerals, which, upon cooling, can be deposited either on the surface or in the conduit pathway to the surface geothermal features. What this means in the long run is that as minerals such as calcite in the water rise to the surface precipitate, they form a crystalline wall which can sometimes completely block the pathway to the surface. This causes a surface feature to sometimes disappear and then reappear at a new location after a new weak point path of least resistance is found by the water. The exact pathway the water takes might take as many as several centuries to 1,000 years, first originating from snowmelt and rainfall on mountains to the east and west of Lone Valley. Eventually, the water seeps into the ground, reaching a fairly deep depth. It is then heated as underlying magma heats overlying rock, and eventually this heat transfers to the water. The water then rises to the surface along with some volcanic gases, reaching the surface via what is known as a hot spring. Another example of a fairly recent new geothermal feature which formed occurred at the Yellowstone volcano west of Western Lake in Wyoming. What was previously a healthy hillside began to die, the dead area expanded, and soon white patches largely from travertine appeared in the dead zone's center, along with patches of ground heated to more than 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Thanks for watching. If you would like to request a specific...
Okay? I want to thank you for watching that, guys. This is important. Even though the thermal features that keep appearing at Long Valley don't stay there. Long Valley Volcano is known to be one of 3 supervolcanoes that could still erupt, and erupt in a big way. Okay? So what they're saying is, oh, we don't have to worry about Long Valley. But in the next breath, they're saying that there are 3 supervolcanoes in the United States that could erupt. And Long Valley is one of them. Okay? But right now we don't have anything really to worry about, right? Okay. Before we go on to talk about volcanoes, and we're going to do that, we're going to be talking about volcanoes, earthquakes in Southern California. But before we do that, someone in the chat brought up a good question, and I want to answer that question. Someone says, why do we have to filter tap water? Why do we have to filter tap water? I'm going to give you a very good reason. This started my adventure with tap water and water that was not good for us to drink out of the tap started in 1974. I got hold of, or someone gave me, a water testing kit that I could test with water right out of my tap in my house or at my parents' house or anywhere. It showed up the same results. Then I found out from a book that I went out and ordered that San Diego tap water had been condemned in 1974. The water that we are drinking in San Diego, California today is still contaminated. Why are we drinking it? Why is water still available from the tap to drink? Because our city, state, and federal governments have been adding chlorine and other chemicals, one, to make it palatable to drink, and 2, to try to take most other contaminants out that will make it safer to drink. Does that mean it is safe to drink? No, it does not. There are a lot of filtering devices all over the United States are being sold in stores such as Walmart and Kmart and Safeway and Vons. Most of Safeway and Vons only have one or two choices that you can get in terms of water filters. Your home supply stores, on the other hand, have quite a selection of reverse osmosis kits. Reverse osmosis device. Walmart has as well. You need to have a reverse osmosis water filtering system. Those will get out 99% of contaminants that are in your water. Heavy metals, minerals that don't taste good, that aren't good for you, and chemical contaminants that have been put in our water. Someone else here in the chat also mentioned something that they have been putting in water. Okay? Let me find it really quick, because I want to stress what's going on. And yes, we're being buffered really bad. Even my signal, which is a high broadband signal, is getting buffered to the tune of taking my signal from 37 kilobytes per second down to 900 and 700 kilobytes per second. I'm looking at it now. It's gone from 16 to 17 down to 1400, 1144, now 1467, 1503 kilobytes per second. They're messing with me as well. Now this is because of a lot of different situations. Number one, a lot of people are on the internet. A lot of people are on the internet, and the internet companies are having to ration internet services. Ration internet services to the people that pay the most. And they cut the rest of us off, regardless of what we pay, which is unfortunate. That's why we're getting buffered. This is the worst buffering I've seen in a long time. We just went down to 1,000 kilobytes per second, and about the same time you were talking about being buffered, Richard, it was down to 700 kilobytes per second. Literally almost knocking us off the air. So that's what's going on when we're talking about buffering. But getting back to water, we have to have water. Richard Smith says tap water is being drugged. Richard Smith is right. Our tap water is being drugged. Even during the pandemic, there were people that told us that they were slipping stuff into our water supply. And I believe it to be true. I believe it to be 100% true. I've seen a lot more people dying from cancer and other ailments as a result of drinking tap water. I would caution anybody to filter their water. I don't have my water filter on my desk right now. It's sitting across my room here, but I have a bottle, a blue bottle with a water filter in it. And I can fill that bottle with water, and out of the straw, a safe straw, filter that water that's in that bottle. I've told you all about life straws as well. They're about $7-8 a piece. You can also buy those reverse osmosis kits where you can pour water in the top of your water container that will filter water. And through a reverse osmosis process, you can have fairly clean water that's safer to drink than right from the tap. So yes, water is dangerous, guys. I'm not going to try to blow hot air up your skirts. I'm telling you like it is. I tested water in San Diego, and no, it was not good. It fell below the government's requirements for safe water, and yet it was coming from our tap. The chemical composition of water coming from our tap was dangerous. And over in my bedroom, in my top drawer, I have another kit, a device to test water with. The water that I drink here, I get from Walmart. And so far, this water I get from Walmart has tested safe. And yet, I've heard some places, and I've read articles that say the bottled water that we get is not safe. The test kit that I have has said that this water is safe. However, if water is left out in plastic bottles in the heat, left out in the sun with the heat, it will degrade the plastic, and the water within the plastic bottle will absorb contaminants from the plastic, which also is not safe and causes cancer. Okay? We have a man or woman in our chat room. I don't know who it is. Yahoo Conan. No, that's not the name. Yahoo Conan Bell says clean water is life. I agree. Joe Carrad says it's a plastic. You're right, it is a plastic. There's contaminants in all of the water that exists on our earth. Okay? In the seawater that we play with in the ocean, it's contaminated with all kinds of contaminants. Like I reported last night on our report last night. Boy, that was weird, the way I said that. In our report last night, we reported that the Yellowstone River had been contaminated when some tanker cars from the railroad, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, tipped over and went into the river. The bridge over the river failed. Some tanker cars carrying oil and gas fell in the river. There may have been others as well. The district water supply people told the people there in Montana, don't drink the tap water. Because the water district gets their water from the Yellowstone River. Folks, we've seen problems with our earth, our air, our water from tanker cars on trains contaminating our water supply, contaminating the air. And I told you about that when we first talked about Palestine, Ohio. I am an instructor when it comes to air and water supplies. I know for a fact, and I have literature, I have all kinds of capabilities to know when the water and the air has been contaminated. And when they burn contaminated, when they burn toxic chemicals, what happens when they burn those toxic chemicals? And all those chemicals and toxic substances go into the air that we breathe. The air around Palestine, Ohio was dangerous. And yet they were allowing people back into Palestine. They were saying it was perfectly safe when it was not. The soil in Palestine, Ohio is still dangerous. the only thing that should be done is everyone evacuate Palestine, Ohio. Leave what you have to and get out. Because if your furniture has been contaminated with that air, your furniture contains the contaminants from that unlawful burn of chemicals. And yes, I'm calling it unlawful. It should not have happened. I have the little Bible that shows the proper way to handle toxic chemicals. And those chemicals were burned in violation of the way that they should have handled those chemicals. And they contaminated the soil. Then they sent the contaminated soil to Texas, or soil and water, contaminated soil and water after the burn. They took those substances to Texas and Michigan to be disposed of. And before they could be disposed of, information came out that the companies that were going to dispose of those soil and water chemicals contamination were not suited to do it. In other words, the government tried to get away with something. They got caught. Ronald Reagan said this a long time ago. If someone from the government comes a-knocking and says they're there to help, don't open your home to them. Run. 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 Don't allow yourself to be deceived by some of these people, including Homeland Security, and I used to work for them. After 2001, after 9/11, after 9/11, President Bush started Homeland Security. And from that point on, Homeland Security got worse and worse and worse. I'm just telling you. Don Patoka just put it up in the chat. The most terrifying words in the English language. Quote, I am from the government and I'm here to help. Ronald Reagan said that. Fact. Guys, I'm continuing to try to give you information to help you. Folks, please read my lips. When it comes to water, filter your water. Do what you have to do to protect yourselves because nobody else is going to do it. Please. Nobody else is going to help you. I know that for a fact. I've been around the block and watched this happen. It's sad. It's so very sad. Does anybody have any questions about water or anything else that I've said here? Don Patoka here put it here in the chat. The truth may hurt for a little while, but a lie hurts forever. We can handle the truth. We can handle the truth regardless of people in the military, such as were portrayed in An Officer and a Gentleman, when Tom Cruise's lawyer character as a Navy JAG officer said, we want the truth. And then the Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel, portrayed by Jack Nicholson, said, you can't handle the truth. Really? We can handle the truth. My friend's surgery from northern Utah's here. He just got off work. I'm glad to have you here. Surgery is a very dear friend of mine. Very dear friend of mine. We appreciate surgery being here. Guys, don't feed on the lies the government is trying to feed us. Find the truth and fight the government. Fight them. PJ says that's why we asked if anyone knows how much bleach per gallon, in case you don't have a filter. It's about a teaspoon per gallon. And then you just don't want to put a cap on it after you put the bleach in the container. Because the bleach has a smell, an odor that's not good. Leave the cap off the bottle of water for a time to let the bleach do its job and make sure that it purifies your water. You can find that out on the internet. How much bleach per gallon should I use to purify my water? Answers on the internet. Cranlott says his friend uses pool shock for 2,500 gallons of water. That's different. That's for a swimming pool. Swimming pool water should not be drank. Yes, while we're swimming, sometimes we do ingest water, but it can make us sick in large quantities. You don't want to drink pool water. You would really have to filter pool water to be able to even drink that. Okay? Please know this. I'm trying to give you things that are going to help you and protect you. Okay? Florence Stone says, I've drunk Winston, Oregon city water for 68 years, soon to be 88 years of age, with no health problems. Florence, I understand that. I totally get what you're saying. But in some areas, even areas in Oregon, it's not healthy. It really is not. Especially if you live around the rivers. The major rivers that supply water to Oregon and Washington. It's not a good thing. Especially if you live anywhere near the Hanover power plant. I'm sorry, not Hanover, but the Hanford power plant in Washington. It's not a good place. And I still have information that would prove that. USGS and Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has taken the information down. I still have it. Awaken says, I bought Brita filtered water containers, use tap water, then test it for 0 chemicals. So far, so good. That's exactly what I would do. I've had Brita water before. I still have a Brita filter. Several Brita filters in the system to do that. Bell says, very true about the chlorination, it must dissipate. Linda Covington says, no drinking from regular outdoor hoses. No. It's funny because there is a commercial on television that's talking about a collapsible hose you can get from Home Depot and Lowe's and such, that it's perfectly safe to drink water from those hoses. I still wouldn't do it. Not anymore. Josie Rod says, I have a lake behind me. Going to filter that if I need it. That would be a good idea. That would be a very good idea. Now, it's just not rivers, guys. Rivers and lakes can be contaminated from planes dropping contamination into our water system, into our rivers, into our lakes. They fly over with contaminated chemicals coming out of their jet engines, and it's not the jet fuel. It's not the jet fuel. These airliners, these jets, they're throwing contamination into our air, have done so to contaminate people and to kill people off. It's a proven fact. If you do the research, you'll find that out. Most of us know that. We've seen it. Okay? Surgery is also talking about, think about all the firefighting chemicals they use on wildfires. Those chemicals leach into the soil. They contaminate our soil and contaminating our water supplies as well. Yes, we have firefighters in helicopters dipping water from lakes and reservoirs and pouring it on fires. But all those chemicals that leach into the ground from fertilizers and all kinds of different things that are out there, those get into our water supply as well. That's why the water at the Salton Sea in Imperial County can't be drank. You can't drink that. It's poisonous. And people that have tried have had health problems from doing it. Okay? All kinds of stuff. Betty Zoom says, Ron, I heard about another balloon spot. Yes, we talked about it last night. 2 of them, one over Montana and the other over Sioux City. Sioux City, South Dakota. So yeah, we have 2 more balloons and there are more coming. And Mr. JB is not doing a damn thing about it. Excuse my French. I'm a little bit peeved. No, I'm a lot peeved. I'm not going to hide it. Yeah, I'm a lot peeved. My dear friend Laura Maria over there in Oregon says, I use a Sawyer Mini water filtration system in my 72-hour kit and in my car emergency kit. That's what we all ought to be doing. Laura Marie has it right. I appreciate you doing that, Laura Marie. That's awesome. That's good advice for everybody. Really good advice for everybody. Now, folks, I promised you we would talk about earthquakes in Southern California. This is a seismogram from Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain closed for the ski season now. People have been hiking on Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth Mountain is a volcano. Most people don't even realize it. It's a cotton-picking volcano. Look at the earthquakes that have been hitting Mammoth Mountain. This is today. This is today. And look what they've been telling us. Okay? The top of this seismogram started yesterday afternoon at 4 p.m. 1600 hours, 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon. It's showing us magma that's coming into the magma system, the magma chamber of Mammoth Mountain. And it caused earthquakes, didn't it? The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the volcano here. And you're seeing earthquakes here. The red lines are generated by the computer to get the attention of the seismologist to say, hey, this is important. Look at these 2 earthquakes here in the middle right here. These happened after 9 p.m. After 9 p.m. About 9:20. Is that right? Yeah, about 9:20 p.m. last night. 2 back-to-back earthquakes within a couple of minutes of each other. Those are 3.0 earthquakes or better. Okay? Look at this other activity. Up at the top we have these thicker horizontal lines. Magma coming into the magma chamber. Then the lines thin out. Magma still coming into the magma chamber, but not as much, and it's causing earthquakes, rock fracturing inside the volcano. Less and less magma should signify less and less earthquakes, or smaller earthquakes. Look here. Okay, again, the top of this was last night after 4 p.m. And where you see the cutoff here is midnight this morning. Midnight last night this morning. Look what happens here between midnight and 7 a.m. 7 hours went by, and they just turned the seismograph down. They turned it down to where it wasn't hardly registering anything. That's what really happened here. Then at 7 o'clock this morning, they started turning it up. Look at this magma that's coming into the magma chamber. Okay? If they had left the seismograph alone, the seismograph would be showing more magma coming into the magma chamber, and it would be showing earthquakes here. Look at this afternoon. 2 more good-sized earthquakes as a result of magma coming into this magma chamber. 2 separate distinct events. The width of these events shows that the earthquake didn't stop. The earthquake continued shaking. Or should I say, the earth continued shaking in both these events. The shaking didn't stop for almost a full minute in both cases. Okay? That's what happened at Mammoth today. Let me show you another one from Mammoth Mountain today. This, folks, was another seismograph from M1QP. M1QP, which is the identifier for the seismograph. Look what happened here. Again, this particular seismograph started recording the seismogram at 4 p.m. yesterday. Look at all this activity. This is completely separate from the other seismograph. 2 different distinct locations showing a lot of magma. And then the agency starts turning down the seismograph. All of a sudden, we hardly see anything going on, huh? That started happening after 8 p.m. yesterday evening. Look at this, guys. Long after 7 a.m. this morning, about 9:30 a.m. this morning, before we started seeing any kind of real activity. Yeah, there were blips. Yes, honestly, there were blips after 7 a.m. and even one after 2:30. But those blips were caused by this volcano that were very strong events. Otherwise, why would they have overcome the shutdown of the seismograph? Or shutdown of the seismograph, excuse me. The seismogram is the paper, the record of what happened. The seismograph is a machine that is supposed to tell us what is really going on. If the officials in charge allow us to see it. In this case, they turned it down, didn't they? Till just after 9 a.m. Then they allowed it to play, but not as much as it played last night. you can see these thin lines. Compare these thin lines this afternoon to what happened up here last night. A completely separate and distinct event. They turned the seismograph down. It's very evident what they did. But even with the machine turned down, over on the right side, okay, this happened just after 12 noon, 1 p.m. today. Look at these earthquakes. With these turned down, folks, these could have been probably 3.0 earthquakes, whether they were turned down or not. Because the agency is not doing their job and allowing the seismograph to record what it's supposed to be doing. Okay? We pay taxes. Yes, the state of California operates these devices here. Other states operate their devices. But we're supposed to be seeing what is being recorded, and they are not allowing it to happen. Okay? Those are two seismographs coming from Mammoth Mountain. Now, just a little short while ago, I played a video about Long Valley Volcano. Let's find out what's going on at Long Valley. Okay? Look at this. Look at this morning, or last night, I mean. Again, this started recording this data at 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, up at the top. You see harmonic tremors up here at the top, almost like a gun being fired. Harmonic tremors from the volcano. You see these thicker lines, and they get thinner and get thicker again. Those are magma pulse signals into the volcano at any one time. Look at these earthquakes. This one on the left is pretty good. Okay? A pretty significant earthquake. We can't see the bottom of it because it's color by color from things that happen after that. Probably pretty close to 3.0. But look to this one over here that's covered by the red. The red, again, is being manufactured by the computer to get the attention of the government agency, the seismologist, to let him know, hey, look at this. Also note that the top and the bottom of this event have been cut off. This is at Long Valley, east of Mammoth, a supervolcano. Just by the length of these lines here that we see without being cut off, this would have been a 3.5 earthquake, at least. This probably was close to a 4.0, 4.5 moderate earthquake here at Long Valley. Okay? Isn't it interesting to see what's actually happening here? Now notice after this earthquake hit, okay, hit at approximately 1950 hours, meaning 7:50 p.m. This next line, 8 o'clock, 2000 hours, starts off, and we have a lot of magma. See that line? It's very thick. We have a lot of magma pouring into this magma chamber of the volcano. But we've had this earthquake already. We're having this earthquake already. We have lines here on each and every one of these lines here. Each horizontal line has vertical lines through it. The magma coming into the magma chamber has fractured rocks in the volcano. And those lines running, those vertical lines running through it, each line, are tremors and earthquakes that are happening because that magma is coming in under pressure and fracturing the rock. Now again, let's look to what happens after they turned off the seismograph. They turned off the seismograph. 2030 is not recording anything until 2100 hours. And this time, look what they've done. They've turned down the seismograph. They've turned down the seismograph. They turned it off at first, they turned it back on. But look what they've done. Now, just after 2200 hours, which is 10 p.m., you see a little bit of a wavy line there in red. Those red lines are computer generated. Okay? I don't know what that line is. Typically, that would signify it could have been turned off. But we still have lines. The graph was allowed to write those lines, but nothing's on it. There's no blips, no nothing on it. So nothing's being recorded from 8:29 p.m. last night. Nothing's being recorded until 9 a.m. this morning. 11 hours again of nothing being recorded because the seismologist or whoever's running that seismograph turned it off. And look what happens as soon as they turn it back on. The thicker lines come back into play, and large amounts of magma come into the volcano, and we start having tremors and earthquakes again. Look what happened after about 10:21 a.m. this morning. Again, we have at least a 3.5 earthquake here. This is Longs Valley, and it's more than that. There were two events here, one prior to the 3.5. That's probably a 3.0. And you can see the blobs of magma here. This is exactly what we're talking about. Magma does not just disappear when the lines get thin. They're not allowing the computer to do its job. Computer seismograph MCD at Long Valley. Let me show you one more. Long Valley is very active. The man at Geology Hub would have us believe that not much happens, and he might agree with these seismologists, these seismograms. This is another one. This is MLM on the eastern side of Long Valley. Look what we have here. Nothing but these lines here, and yet they're thicker than some. But look what happens at 03, say about 03:50 this morning. Okay, the red lines are computer generated to get the attention of seismologists. Look what's happening. We are recording 3.0 earthquakes all throughout this area, throughout this time period. Look at the amount of magma that we're seeing. If the machine, we would probably be seeing this a lot more. But because machines were turned down and then they turned them up, the seismograph record this information, completely obliterating any white line between it. Not showing any white beneath these lines. That's what we probably should have seen if they let the seismograph alone. This has happened, guys. These volcanoes are very active. Now look at this signature here. This is a steam signature. As I told you last night when we came to these volcanoes up in the Pacific Northwest. This is a steam signature. It's a long vertical line with a curly Q on it. This is a steam signature. The computer picked it out as well to show the seismologists, hey, look at this. Long Valley is steaming. The man at Geology Hub said that there were 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma down beneath the ground at Long Valley. 1,000 cubic kilometers of magma beneath Long Valley. 6 to 7% of magma is water. And when that magma heats up, it allows that water to escape in the form of steam and other gases that it lets loose, either through the soil or through the fractured rock at the volcano. Now, I said this before and I'll say it again. The Long Valley volcano is a supervolcano. However, it's not as large as Yellowstone. It's 23 miles in diameter. There are some scientists that believe that Mammoth is connected to Long Valley. And if that's the case, now we're going to add on a lot of mileage. Probably 75 miles end to end between one side of Long Valley to the other side of Mammoth. It's common to have more than one volcano in a caldera. It does happen. That's what we're seeing here at Long Valley and Mammoth. This is East Central California. East Central California. This is what's actually happening, guys. I kid you not. So we're seeing a lot of magma, and we're seeing a lot of events that are happening as a result of the magma in terms of tremors and earthquakes. It's happening a lot, isn't it? All over. Now, some of these seismologists don't want anybody to believe what's going on. I just showed you what's happening. I just showed you what's going on. Linda Covington says, I want a refund on my Verizon bill this month. I want a refund too. Probably a bit different reason than you do. But this is what's going on at these volcanoes, guys. Okay? This is Mammoth and Long Valley. Now, while we're here, I want to go to the other side of California, to the very west side of California. I want to show you the Channel Islands. The past couple of weeks we've been showing you seismograms from the Channel Islands. Why am I showing it to you? Because, folks, there's just as much activity out here in the Pacific Ocean around the islands than there is over on land. As you can see, there are quite a few tremors here. There's also quite a few earthquakes as well, just off the coast of Los Angeles, the Channel Islands. You can see a couple of them here. One of them after 2:12 this morning, 2:11, 2:12 this morning, a 2.3 earthquake. Then just after 6:06, 6:07 this morning, we have another one on the black line here. We can see a lot of tremors here. Folks, there are quite a few earthquake faults just off the coast of Los Angeles. That's why we're seeing this. I kid you not. Let me show you Catalina Airport. Catalina Island is also off the coast of Los Angeles. Look what's happening here. Look at all the tremors here. These are minor tremors that are sporadically hitting out here on Catalina Island at the airport. There are other places as well. I want to take you over to, well, it's getting really late. I don't want to stay on the air all night long. I want to take you out to Fontana, California. Look at this, guys. This is Cal Electric in Fontana. Look at all the tremors and earthquakes that are hitting out here in Fontana. Orange and Riverside counties, guys, look what's happening. Yes, these are minor earthquakes in May. They may be small earthquakes as well. Minor be between 2.0 and 2.9. Down here at the bottom on the red line, guys, that's at least a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. But throughout this seismogram, if you really look at it, we may even have larger earthquakes than that. And I'm talking 3.0, 3.2, 3.3 earthquakes. Up at the top on the black line, we have a couple events here that reach off the paper up at the top. At least 2.0 earthquakes, meaning minor earthquakes. Yes, we see quite a few tremors. On the red line at the top, just below the black line here, that is 12:17 a.m. this morning. That reaches up off the paper. That is a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. So we're seeing minor earthquakes over in Fontana, California. This is the most earthquakes I've seen at Fontana in a very long time. Now I'm going to hop around here a little bit to show you what's really going on. Let's go over to Del Amo. Look what's going on at Del Amo here. That is the most tremors I have ever seen at Del Amo. You hardly can see any white between these colored lines here. It appears to be the case that all of this is tremor activity. Larger tremor activity, not earthquake, but tremors. 1.0 to 1.9. These are also going to turn into earthquakes. Where we see large amounts of tremors, we're going to see large amounts of earthquakes as well. Let's look at Ellis, California as well. Look at this. There are more earthquakes here at Ellis and more tremor activity here at Ellis than I've ever seen at Ellis before. The main earthquakes here happened at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 after 6:15 a.m. this morning. About 6:09, 6:10 a.m. this morning. Look at the red line there. Look at that red line going up and going down. This was at least a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake, and it may have been cut off. that earthquake may have been cut off as well. This may have been a lot larger than the 3.0. But we're seeing minor earthquakes and tremors hitting here. It's not a joke any longer, it's real. It's real, guys. Okay? It's real. It's happening a lot. We're seeing all over. Surgery says we're buffering. Yes, we just had our kilobytes per second drop to 1100 kilobytes per second. Now we're back up at 2800. Now we're back down at 1500 now. 1512, 1504, 1506, 1497, 1508. Yes, we're even being buffered here. Okay? I'm going to show you around Los Angeles here because I want you to see what's going on. This is light hype over near Long Beach. Light hype over near Long Beach, guys. Look at this. This is all tremor activity as well. You can hardly see any white here. Yet 2 weeks ago, things had calmed down. Last week it was picking up, and this week it picked up even more. Big time tremor activity over by Long Beach. Let's go over to State Street. I want to show you State Street because State Street will take the cake. Look at State Street, guys. This is no joke. It's tremors and earthquakes all over this seismogram. You can just barely see any white in certain places. That's how much activity is happening here near Long Beach. This is over in the area around Anaheim and Long Beach, California. These are definitely minor earthquakes and even 3.0 earthquakes. Minor and small earthquakes hitting here near Long Beach. And yet nobody is talking about it. Here is a seismogram right in front of everybody. I pulled this afternoon. No joke. No joke. That's Long Beach, State Street area. So I showed you light hype in Long Beach. That proves it. Let's go out to Mira Loma and Loma Linda. Mira Loma is just west of Mira Loma, or Loma Linda, where the medical center here is. Look at the amount of tremors that are happening here, and yet what do you see on the USGS map? Nearly nothing in this area. Look at the amount of tremors that are happening. It's not one or two. This is hundreds of tremors all throughout this day. Today. Light tremors happening this morning at midnight. The top of this seismogram is midnight, guys. It goes all day long here. This is what's going on. This is the northern end of the Anza Gap area. Okay? Let me show you Cabazon going south. USGS says no earthquakes or tremors here. Look what we're seeing here. Every one of these lines is showing tremors. This green line up here at the top is after 12:45 this morning. Okay? At 12:48 this morning, we were having 2.3 to 2.5, or excuse me, not 2, 1.5 to 1.8 tremors. Okay? How long did it last? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. An 8-minute seismic event. Imagine if that had been a 3.0 earthquake or a 4.0 earthquake. How would you like to sit there shaking for 8 minutes? And yet, throughout this seismogram, you're seeing events similar to that, but it's just tremor activity. And yet, USGS on the USGS map isn't showing anything. Nothing. Not a thing. I'm asking, why not? Why are they not showing it? Why are they not being honest with everybody? Now, my friend Rob52 is one of our mods here. He knows where this is. This is Los Alamos Park, north of LA. Los Alamos Parks. Look at the earthquakes here. This is the map. This is the map. Let me show you the seismogram from Los Alamos. This may blow your mind. Look at the tremors hitting here at Los Alamos. And there's one earthquake here. Look at that green line after 12:45. This is about 12:55 today. That green line, guys, is showing at least a 2.8 magnitude earthquake. Surrounded by tremors before and after that, but look what it's showing. I kid you not, guys, there's seismic activity all over LA. Literally. The one that bothers me the most, well, there's two of them. Light Hype and State Street. Mira Loma comes in after that. And Ellis and Del Amo that I've shown you here. But we haven't even begun to fight here. How about Walnut La Puente? This is in Los Angeles County. This is a volcanic caldera. Look what's happening here. Look at the earthquakes that are happening here at Walnut La Puente. These are not small earthquakes. Actually, I should say these are not minor earthquakes. These are small and moderate earthquakes. We know because every seismogram has been turned down. Every one of them been turned down. People out in the Walnut area, in La Puente area, know what's going on. They felt this shaking off and on all day long. All day long. This blue line here is at 3:30 this afternoon. Right before 3:30 over on the right hand side, after 2:59 is when this earthquake first started. It got larger after that, and it lasted nearly 30 seconds. That one lasted 30 seconds. Look at these others throughout the seismogram here. They lasted a lot longer than that. Los Angeles is moving. North to south, east to west, Los Angeles is moving. Now I can show you the city of Los Angeles, what's going on. This was taken from the seismograph at the City County of Los Angeles building in downtown LA. Yes, for the most part, this is just minor tremors. And yes, there may even be some microquakes here as well. But folks, I believe they turned down the seismograph. Judging by what we're seeing everywhere else, they're turning down the seismograph. They're not even being honest about it. Let's go north along the coast. Let's go over to Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey area. Look at this. Even here, we have larger tremors than we've seen here in several weeks. Larger tremors, 1.3, 1.4 tremors here. Look at the bottom of it. Look at the tremors here along the coast at Playa del Rey, Marina del Rey area. One about every 45 seconds to 60 seconds. Every 45 to 60 seconds, there's a tremor here. It almost looks like something that you would see at a volcano. This is not a volcano there. These are actual seismic events that are hitting over in this area. Let's look further south at Laguna. Look at Laguna Bell, guys. This is also a little bit more activity than we've seen here at Laguna Bell in a while. This is south. So I've shown you the north part of the coast. I'm showing you the south part of the coast and Laguna Niguel area now. Look at this. There are no microquakes here. These are all tremors. 1.0 to 1.4, 1.5 tremors here. Okay? Up and down the coast, north to south and east to west. Let's drop into San Diego County. I want to show you what's going on in San Diego. Okay? This is way further south, isn't it? This is the seismograph that's covering this over at the San Diego Gas and Electric Building in Mission Valley, or should I say just north of Mission Valley. For the most part, all we're seeing is some tiny tremors here, except for this earthquake that hit after 3 p.m. today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? After 3:08 p.m. this afternoon. About 10 seconds after 3:10 this afternoon. We have a 2.3 earthquake. A minor earthquake nobody felt. Minor earthquakes 2.0, 2.9 usually cannot be felt except by someone very, very sensitive. 3.0, 3.9 can be felt. They can be felt as rumbling beneath our feet or some slight shaking. We have a good-sized minor earthquake there, guys. This is on the fault zone that runs out of the Inglewood, what's it called? Now I can't remember. There's two different cities within the city of Los Angeles. There's Inglewood, and there's another one, I believe it starts with an N. I just can't think of the name of it right now. But that fault zone goes out into the ocean, and it continues south and turns into the Rose Canyon Fault. That Rose Canyon Fault, when it reaches San Diego County, about the Encinitas area in North San Diego County, it starts to go inland. Then it cuts through the city of San Diego and goes back out into the harbor, San Diego Harbor. San Diego Gas and Electric seismograph is recording this. The Rose Canyon Fault in San Diego can generate a 7.0 earthquake, a major earthquake on the Rose Canyon Fault. But folks, there's something else that you need to see. That's over in the Imperial Valley. What's going on in the Imperial Valley? Just south of the western side of the Imperial Valley is a town called Westmoreland. Look at all the tremors that are happening in Westmoreland, yet USGS does not say anything about this. They do not show any tremors at all in the Imperial County. That's Westmoreland. Let's go over to Calipatria. Folks, this is Calipatria. This is over on the south end of the Salton Sea, on the eastern side of it. Let me enlarge this so you can see it. Okay? See where it starts off this seismogram at 4 p.m. at the top line there? 4 p.m. yesterday. Look at all the tremors here. These are all tremors here. But look how they turn down the seismograph. After 8:30 p.m. last night, after about 8:03 p.m. last night, they turn off the seismograph. They turn it off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 minutes. Then they turn it back on. But they have turned it down before they turned it off, and when they turned it back on, they had turned it way down. How can I tell that? Because of the lines above that. They were a little bit thicker. They're thinner down here. Then, just like they've done with the other seismographs, after 22, in this case about 22:56 p.m. last night. Actually, not even, yes, it was about 22:56 p.m. last night. They turned it off. They did not turn it back on until after 6:30 this morning. And actually, it was about 7:02 a.m. this morning when they actually turned it on. So it was off basically from 22:50 p.m. last night until just after 7 a.m. this morning. 9 hours of inactivity here. The seismologist turned it off. Why? What is going on here in the Imperial Valley that is so important that they don't want us to see? As soon as they turn it on, we start to see tremors again, as we always do when we've had a full seismogram to look at. What are they not wanting to show us here? Even this area below this, after 7 a.m. this morning. Look at all these tremors here. Folks, we're almost hitting 100 tremors here since 7 a.m. this morning. Okay? Look at this 9-hour time period that was turned off. And up here, there's close to 50 tremors here. That tells me that there's probably close to 200 tremors and earthquakes that have actually hit the Imperial Valley. Over here on the far right, on the red lines are generated by the computer. And as you can see, there are a lot of tremors that the computer wants a seismologist to pay attention to. But let's go over to the line on the right that starts off at 8:30 a.m. this morning. We have one very long line here. The very long line lasts 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. Okay? This, folks, and I believe they've cut off the top and the bottom of it, but folks, this line just by itself would have been a 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. By itself. How strong was it? Inquiring minds want to know. How about these other earthquakes and tremors that hit the Imperial Valley today? How about this one that hit after 3 p.m.? At 3:02 p.m. Again, a 2.5 earthquake, and the top and the bottom have been cut off. How strong was that earthquake? Okay? You see what I'm saying? Down in the Imperial Valley, folks, we're having a lot of earthquakes. Yes, we have the Salton Butte volcano there. We do have the Salton Butte volcano that's underwater on the southern side of the Salton Sea. But we're seeing all those earthquakes at Calipatria and Nyland area. We've seen all those tremors over at Westmoreland. How about the town of Imperial? The town of Imperial down there in the Imperial Valley. What actually happened there? What actually happened? This is the town of Imperial, guys. Look at this. This has got to tell you something. Look at all the seismic activity. And this, folks, probably is not magma. This is purely tectonic activity. None of this is being recorded. Earthquake after earthquake and tremor after tremor. These are at least 2.5, 2.7 earthquakes over here in this blue line near the middle right. That's an awful lot of earthquakes, guys. These are tectonic earthquakes in the Imperial Valley. I have shown you Westmoreland. I've shown you Calipatria. I've shown you Imperial. That's 3. Would you like to see some more earthquakes in the Imperial Valley? I'm sure I can show them to you. There's quite a few more. How about over here in El Centro, at the El Centro Naval Air Station? Look what we have here. Yes, we have tremors here, but we have full-blown minor earthquakes here as well. I don't see anything that is a 3.0 earthquake. I believe these are just minor earthquakes today. Last week I showed you 3.0 small earthquakes here at El Centro Naval Air Station. Look at the numbers of them. I believe there's over 60 to 70 earthquakes here at Naval Air Station Imperial, or Naval Air Station El Centro. Okay? That's there. So I've shown you 4 seismograms showing tremors and earthquakes all over the Imperial Valley. This is Bombay Beach on the east side of the Salton Sea. Look at these here. These are not minor earthquakes. These are 3.0 and larger earthquakes. Some of them, the tops and the bottoms, have been cut off so that we can't see just how strong they are. Okay? These are also tectonic origin. These earthquakes are also tectonic in origin. Okay? Southern California is on fire. Not with literal fire, but with magma and earthquakes all over. From Mammoth Mountain south We have earthquakes and tremors all over the place. And they can't say we don't. They cannot show it on the map and let everybody believe that nothing happened, but I'm showing you what actually happened. Folks, you can't deny it. Over 300 earthquakes in the Imperial Valley today. I showed you tremors and earthquakes all over Los Angeles today. Probably close to 600 events between Los Angeles and San Diego and the Imperial Valley. I showed you earthquakes at Mammoth and Long Valley. There's one place I didn't show you yet, but I'm not going to. It's Ubehebe craters on the border of Nevada and California. A huge volcanic range. I could show you another 25 or 30 earthquakes there in the volcanic range. Folks, there's a lot going on. And they can't deny it anymore. I'm the only one showing this. Nobody else is covering this. Earthmaster does not cover this. He shows some tremors. He'll show some tremors and he'll say, well, we just had a tremor here, we just had a tremor there. He's not showing the seismograms. This is what's actually happening in Southern California. It's happening, guys. USGS and others have covered up what is happening in Northern California. They're not showing us Lassen. They're hardly showing us any activity at Shasta, although we did show you that one yesterday for the first time in a very, very long time. It's happening, guys. They're hardly showing anything in San Francisco, and I will bet you that I can find seismograms all over San Francisco and Northern California. They're happening. We're expecting a very large earthquake to hit in Southern California. I've taken the watch down. Remember when I called for a watch after those large earthquakes and 6.6 very strong earthquakes hit down there in the Gulf of California? It's past the 10 days now. So I'm calling it on that. I might have egg on my face for calling for an earthquake watch. But if I can save just one life by calling for a watch, it's been worth it. Okay? We have 129 thumbs up. I love that. Thank you very much. We have 72 people watching us still. Thank you very much. Folks, please watch this program from start to finish. The more time we have watch time, the greater likelihood YouTube will share this program on YouTube and let everybody else see it. They have various things in their analytics that go into whether they're going to allow anybody to see it or not. One of the things is the number of people that are watching the program, how long you watched it, and how many likes did we get, how many comments after the program did we get. That goes into it too. Please, folks, please share this program with everybody you know. Your family, your friends, extended family, your neighbors, the people you work with, the people you associate on social media with. Share it with everybody. Everybody deserves to know what's going on, especially those that live in Southern California or have family in Southern California, which I do. I have 2 of my own kids in Southern California. I really don't care about my ex-wife. she wouldn't listen to me anyway. I don't care. I'm putting this out to try to save lives, whether she wants to or not. That's up to her. But it's up to everybody else to understand what's going on. And actually, I have 3 children. I have a stepchild now in San Diego as well, and a granddaughter, or maybe several grandkids in San Diego. In fact, I know I do. I have at least 3 kids by my son. My one daughter I don't know in California. She doesn't tell me anything. She doesn't publish any pictures. But my stepchild that just barely moved to San Diego has one of my grandkids there, who I truly love. So I care. That's why I'm showing you these things. Make sure this information gets out. It's important. There's a larger earthquake coming. It's going to happen. Now, I know it's late. I want to share a couple of scriptures with you before we leave here tonight. The first one comes from 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 19. Actually, I'm sorry, 1 Timothy 6, verse 18 and 19. That they do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate. That applies to all of us as well. We need to be ready to distribute this information. We need to be ready to communicate this information. We need to be ready to communicate the information about the Lord. Second, verse 19. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come. Emergency preparedness, folks. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come, that they may hold on eternal life. That they may lay hold on eternal life. Folks, then we go to 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. We shouldn't fear. We should not fear. We're laying up power and a sound mind to know what we should be doing. May God bless us and protect us. May God bless us and protect us, that we might know the things to do and actually do them. Let us not just be hearers, but doers as well. Let's just not sit back and let everybody else take credit when they hardly do anything at all. May God be with you guys. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Share this program with everybody. We appreciate it. God be with you till we meet again. Have a good night, everybody. I love you very dearly. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you either later tonight or tomorrow. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air tonight to tell you about it. Until tomorrow, guys, take it easy. May God love you as I do. See you soon. Good night, everybody.
Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West. It's in Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very aware of the fact that it's Monday, and the minor the sun getting the earth is located around 3.5 miles south. The earth is now in the solar wind, also